There comes a time in every person's life when you realise it's not about doing what you are told, but doing what you know is right for you. Let us take a journey of learning and discovery with the world's most successful people who are living the life of their dreams, walking through life using their inner wisdom and being of service to others. Forget exams, grades and test scores. What is your purpose? As we let go of what we think should be and learn from our elders to gain knowledge, inspiration and a true sense of who we are. What are your dreams? Does your life have meaning? Are you living a life of significance? Let's talk with today's guest. Hello and welcome as we spend some more time together on the Learning on Fire podcast. Today I'm talking to Hani Mourra. Hi Hani, thanks for joining me and let's explore the journey of who you are.
Hey Mark, thanks for having me here. My name is Hani Mourra. I live in Toronto, Canada. I'm a dad of two girls, lovely girls, and I call myself a softwarepreneur. I love creating software and I love solving problems, so I kind of came up with this term called Softwarepreneur, which basically means I create apps for people in the podcasting live streaming space. So I'm an app creator.
Fantastic. And let's delve into that a little bit. What sort of apps are they and what are you helping people solve?
Yeah, I'm helping people automate some of the tasks when it comes to doing podcasts and getting your podcast out to different channels. So podcasting is more of primarily an audio platform. It helps getting audios into videos and putting them on channels like YouTube and Facebook. So more people can listen to them a lot easier than having to download an app or listen on their phone. So it just gives a person creating the content more exposure, and it gives people more opportunities for people to listen to your stuff. And basically, the whole software is designed to help automate a lot of these tasks because it can take time. It's very tedious and time consuming.
And why software? How did you get into software? Was that a passion of yours sort of from day one, or did it solve a problem that you were actually having to experience and you sort of went out a bit from that direction?
Actually, it's a little bit of both. I've always been a computer guy. Growing up as a kid, I've always been on a computer. Been fortunate to have my dad to have a computer way back and just letting us play on it, just expose us to computers in general. So I was always been kind of a techie computer guy, and I loved it. It was so fun. And then going into high school, I didn't really know what to do with that, and I don't know how I got into go. I studied software engineering when I went to university, but in high school I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted something technical, something with computers. My brother went into more the engineering direction, and I guess I kind of followed his steps a little bit to go into the engineering. And then in your second year of university, that's when you kind of have to pick which direction of engineering. And I don't know, something about software kind of computer or software stuck with me. So I just went with it, and I didn't know if I would like it or not, but now I do. But yeah. It just kind of worked out, but I knew I wanted something technical, something in the engineering space.
And that really is the key, isn't it, in terms of just actually going with the area that you like, the kind of, or at least knowing what you don't like. So, you're going to be doing that rather than doing an art degree or anything like that. And it's just, some people sort of, from the moment they're sort of 5, it's like, yes, I was always going to be X, Y, or Z. And I managed to sort of achieve that by the time I was 17. And then the majority of us, it's that kind of, I like this area of life and the way that is, and I'll just gradually, bit by bit, sort of meander my way until all of a sudden something just inside you says, actually, that's the way forward. That's what I'm really passionate about.
Exactly. And I always loved video too. As a kid growing up, I always loved making videos. So I knew, I didn't know then, but I knew probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I'm doing software. Software is a tool, really. I treat software as a tool to kind of expose my passions and build on my passions. And my passion was video. And that's how I got into building my own video app. Before, it was actually a WordPress plugin way back in the day, about 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, when you're growing up, you don't know what, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Got the education, and then still, I didn't know what to do with that. I wanted to go into become a software engineer. And then a little bit later on in my life, after been working for a while, then I realized I have a passion for video. Let's explore that passion and how to use my skills for software, my passion video, and how to merge those two. And it kind of evolved with doing that, but also as solving a problem for myself. So that's why I was saying a little bit of both early on, because I used my skills, my passion to solve my problem, and then it grew from there.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And so, what does your life look like now? I mean, I guess sort of practically day to day. I mean, it sounds like you don't have a job per se, but yet you've got this fantastic business which is helping us all in the tech space. And how's that different from sort of your experiences as you were growing up?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Not many people do this. Know this actually, but I still do have a job as well in the software space. So I'm still growing this business kind of quote unquote on the side.
Right.
But it's basically my life it shifted. So when I first graduated from university, I went the traditional route. Went to school, got my degree, and got a job and worked for a company, and I was enjoying what I was doing. I was learning a lot, and that was the key, is learning on the job. It's not learning the technical stuff, it's learning the more about what it is. I was a software manager for a company that I work for. I still work for. So you learn from job experiences. You learn a lot about real life. Not what you learn in school is more technical. Here we learn about real, how do you do a software? How do you manage software? How do you maintain software? What teams you need? That kind of stuff. So I've been doing that for many, many years. And then slowly I was kind of getting that itch to create something on my own. And that's something I didn't know when I was younger. I didn't know I had that itch of creating. I know I'd like to create videos, and I had that creative side to me, but I never thought I would be starting my own business. It wasn't something like, oh, as a kid I had lemonade stand and I wanted to create a business. I wasn't like that. I was like, I knew I wanted to get a job, and get a degree, get a job, and that's how my parents taught us, and that's how they did it. My dad was an engineer. That's how it was. That's how it was for me, and I was okay with it. I had no problem with it. But then later on, after many years of working, I thought, man, I had this itch to create something. Like I know how to do it now. I've been exposed to it through my job, and I have the skill set. I just want to give it a go, and that's kind of how it started. I just had to try. If I didn't try, I would have regretted it. So I did try my first software. I did cut back my hours to like 4 days a week, just to give myself a little bit of space to work on this side project. About 5 years ago now. And it's been great. It's been a great experience doing both. Challenging, but it's been great. And I'm glad I did it that way, not jump the ship from, drop my job and start my software business, but kind of doing both together, cutting back some hours, learning from the job and applying it to my business.
And what I really like about that is there is a natural progression sometimes, isn't there? Like you say, it's not about jumping ship and just deciding I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to do something online, or I want to create something brand new, and then just sort of literally going left field and doing something different. There is often just a natural progression between your learning, your understanding, your work experience, and actually just seeing how you can just slightly move the needle a little bit to change your life from it looking exactly like this, or maybe working for someone, to actually having a bit more control, having some extra income, having that creativity to develop your own thing, and also that can take you into a whole world of interest and sort of self-reliance as well, like I say, which sort of frees up your time and frees up your mental capacity to. It's not always that you're getting out of a situation that you really don't like. It's just that you're able to expand into a new life, and I think that's the key to sort of being happy and successful, is that when you've got that control and that understanding, then it doesn't have to be massive shifts. It can just be small increments, just bit by bit, and I absolutely love that. I think it's a great experience there.
Yeah.
So what was valuable about your actual school experience?
For me, I mean, I learned technical stuff. I learned software engineering, learned about software coding and that kind of stuff. I'm actually don't do a lot of coding now myself, so those skills came in handy when I got my job in the beginning. Even then, I only used them for a couple of years, 1 or 2 years, and I got promoted to a manager, and I had to learn a whole different skill set. So what I kind of look back and I talk to my younger cousins and people in the younger generation, and then they ask me the same question, like, what do you learn from school? Should I go to school? Do I learn from school? To me, I learned how to think and how to solve problems. Whatever you're in, you're in a situation in university where you don't know, you're in a new space, you're trying to consume all this new information in a very short time. In 4 years is a lot of information to consume. So basically, I was like, I look back, I learned how to think, and it just trained my mind how to think and how to solve problems, and then I used that skill in my job and also in my business as well. So that's kind of my biggest takeaway.
And I really like the idea that actually, I think especially when you've been in school for a long time. So if we sort of talk back to when you're at sort of primary school here, or sort of, and then sort of high school and that kind of thing, it's just that you go because you have to, and it's just part and parcel of your life. And then you can see why some children sort of struggle with the idea of just being told you have to do X, you have to do Y, you have to learn this, you have to learn that. And I think as we do then start to get older, that idea that actually beyond that we have some control, not only in terms of what we're studying, but also the fact that we're learning more about ourselves, and then using the tools and the learning experience around to expand what we want and actually take the direction that we can. So I think that whole idea of learning how to think is brilliant, because it then just means that you're using the education that you're doing for your own benefit, rather than that sense that you have to go and do it.
Exactly.
And out of those experiences, which teachers do you remember, and what was it about them that really sort of sticks in your mind?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was, thinking about this question. I there's not one teacher that really stuck out or taught me something. It's just the whole experience of going through school. It's just you're challenged by consuming a lot of information and trying to process it all, and just I learned from colleagues how to like manage stress levels and how to control. Don't freak out. It's all gonna be okay. And I don't really have one good teacher, but I always look back to my dad and just say, all right, he always worked hard. Like, ever since, well, even now, he's still working hard. And he just had that work ethic. Like, just don't give up. You just you got something to do. You got a problem to solve. You got a degree to get. You just make it happen. Work hard and make it happen. So I kind of credit my dad for that. Just through his example.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of takes us on to who do you admire, and when you were young, would that be your dad, or was there someone else as well?
Yeah, I admire my dad, but I took a note here, mental note. I said, all right, when I was young, like when I was probably in maybe like a teenager or pre-teenager, I was just like somebody. Like, I love basketball. I always enjoyed watching basketball. I just watch every single game on there as much as I could, and I just always enjoyed watching Shaq, like Shaquille O'Neal. He just dominated the court. Like, he's this big dude. He just dominated. And I like the fact that he would go for a dunk. He'd like rip down the net. Like, I don't know, something about Shaq I admire when I was a kid. I was like, man, I want to be like Shaq. I want to dominate. Like, whatever I do, right? I was thinking more basketball when I was younger, but I never got into sports that too much. But when I was younger, it was basically sports figures. I was like, all right, Shaq is guy. He's the guy. I always loved watching him. Enjoyed watching him. He was entertaining. He also dominated his game. He was really good at just taking control of the game. But down the road, of course, after you grow out that phase, my dad was the person I always looked up to and said, I still go to him for help now. I'm like, hey, I need help with this, and he's always there to help. And he just seems to know everything, everything, and I admire that, of course.
Yeah, and I guess it is that experience thing, isn't it? No matter how old you are, or even what skill sets you think you are, there's always other things that you can learn and things that you need help with. And I think having that ability to ask for help and just sort of be honest and say, this is what I need now. What advice can you give? And I think often that sort of inner family is a safe place, but also a very sort of integral place of where you can actually go and ask that. And I guess that has a really big impact on you, isn't it? Just knowing that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Even now, like I'm saying, even like nowadays, I call up my dad if I need some help with something. He just always seems to know the answer, or at least direct me in the answer, in the way to go. So, I'm very fortunate to parents live close by, and, they're available to help. It's very comforting, and it's, I look at that for me to be like my dad for my kids as well. Like, when they get older, I always want to be there for them, and just see, I want to appear like I know everything, or at least guide them in the right direction. Because that's how my dad was. He always seemed to have an answer, right? He never say, oh, I don't know, go figure it out. He would just say, he would guide you in the direction. Even if you didn't know the exact answer, he would guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, and the thing that just struck me there, which I'm not sure I'd really clocked before, is the fact that, of course, these important people in our lives, they know us best as well. So not only do they either have the answer or can guide us, but they know how to deliver it to us so that we get the most out of it. And I think that's can be the same in our sort of professional space as well. As we start to trust and let the people in around us and actually be honest and have those conversations, the more people know us, then the better advice that we can receive, because they can actually deliver those sorts of bits of advice in a way that we can really take on board.
Yeah, absolutely. You know your kids best, right? So I'm always looking to help my kids the same way, like just deliver the message in a way that they understand. Right now they're 6 and 9, and it's, you got to deliver it a little bit different for each of them. And as they get older, you got to deliver the message a little different. And yeah, so definitely something you learn from your parent. I'm learning from my dad and mom, of course, and just want to apply that to my children as well.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Sounds really great. What was the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and who was it that gave it to you?
I would say this is more recent. I'm probably when I say recent, like in the probably 3, 4, 5 year range. It's basically don't be afraid to fail. Like don't be afraid to try, and don't be afraid to fail. I'm always a bit of a perfectionist sometimes. A lot of people are. I think they don't want to try something because they're afraid to look bad, or if they fail, how are they gonna go tell their parents or their friends? So they don't take that first step. And I didn't start my own software stuff for a very long time. I pushed off, I delayed. But yeah, the main message was once I got into it, I did have failures, and it was a struggle in the beginning because I didn't know what I was doing. But then I learned that it happens to everybody. Everybody struggles in the beginning. Everybody fails in the beginning. And failing is not such a strong word, but really it's part of the learning process. It's how you react after. If you learn from it and you adjust and you try again with a different angle, that's the way to go. If you see failure like, all right, this is not meant to be, I'm going to stop here, then you're not learning from your mistakes. And that's what you need to do is you need to try, you need to fail or make mistakes. I don't say fail is kind of a strong word. Make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And the key is to learn from them, man. Because if you don't try, you don't make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. And it's basically a podcast. I remember hearing this over and over in the entrepreneurial space from different podcasts, and it just kind of resonated with me after a while. After doing it myself, I was like, "Oh wow, you're right." Like, you gotta make a mistake. No one's gonna get it right the first time.
And I think even going back, like we're talking about our children and how they deal with us and what we say to them. I think there's something incredibly powerful about what they learn about the way that we go about doing it. And I think actually walking the walk, as it were, rather than just talking the talk, if I can put it that way, is really key, isn't it? They can see I've started something new, that didn't work. I've done something else. I learned from this and I've adapted it to that, and now I'm trying. And then they can actually see you doing that. They can actually follow that journey. And it's not just about a piece of advice you were then given. It's about actually learning through your experiences in real life.
Yeah, and it's a great point about kids. Like I always try to tell my kids, don't be afraid to try things. But at the same time, we need to show them that we're trying things, and not just say it. We need to show them with our actions as well. So I'm trying to be more deliberate about saying, "Oh, remember when I tried this, it didn't work out so well." I just kind of explain to them, and then they know that it's not just us trying to pitch advice to them. It's just this is how we believe in this advice, and we do it with our own actions as well. So yeah, that's a very, very good point.
And
I'm trying to be
sorry.
No, I'm trying to be more conscious about it, to try to do that in front of my kids so that they learn that it's okay to try and it's okay to make mistakes. That's the only way you learn.
And there's a phrase in there which I really like, was actually being deliberate about something. And I think that's true in terms of things that you do and things that you don't. As long as you're deciding you're doing X, Y, or Z for a reason and with a purpose, and no matter what the outcome of that happens to be, then you feel like you're actually in control of your life. I am going to start my software company because I've got a niche and I really want to do it, or I'm not going to take that degree because I'm pretty sure that my focus should be somewhere else, or like I say, there's always an opportunity in cost, because what you can do means you lose something else. But that's quite a powerful thing to learn as well. And I think what you said there, being deliberate about it, is a really great message for us all to take on board as we're listening to this. It's fantastic. What advice would you give your younger self now?
Along the same lines, is basically start sooner. I don't regret, but I wish I did start sooner when I was younger, to explore this itch and explore this need to create, and just explore my passion of creating things, especially in the software space. I was hesitating. I just kind of took the easy way out. I always told myself, oh, nobody knows who I am. Like, why am I creating software in this selling software? Who's going to buy it? Nobody knows or trusts me or knows anything about me. Like, how am I going to get my foot in the door? And that's the reason why I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to look bad in front of my parents or in front of friends. So I just kept I just kept pushing it off. So yeah, start sooner. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll learn what to do and what not to do, and you'll know like if you'll know this is for you or not. Like some people might like the idea of creating something or starting a business or whatever it is, and then once they get into it, of course there's challenges, but then we'll get to the point where maybe this is not for me, and that's fine. That's a lesson you learn. It's better to know that sooner than later. So whatever it is you want to do or you're thinking of doing, get your foot in there and try it sooner. It might open up more opportunities for you. It might change your direction in life as well if you start sooner.
Yeah, big takeaway. What are you waiting for? And I can certainly relate to that in my life as well. What are you waiting for? And there's usually not an answer to that other than that you're scared, like you say, or you're putting it off. So absolutely, go for it today.
No, absolutely. And yeah, you're always like, there's no perfect time, like no perfect time to have kids, no perfect time to start something. It's just, you just got to start it. And I remember starting my blog before I got into software. I was doing a lot of blogging. I think I started my blog when my first daughter was born. I remember like writing a blog post with like an infant in one hand and the laptop on my lap on the other. And, it wasn't the perfect time, obviously, but I said, hey, I got to get my foot in the door. And actually, by doing the blog and starting a blog about video, got me into the whole video space, and then eventually got me into the software space. So, just that small action of starting a blog, even if it wasn't the perfect time, got me to, led me to this direction and to where I am today. So, the sooner you start, the sooner the path will start kind of forming.
I think that's a really great lesson, is the fact that the path often emerges, doesn't it? And the quote of, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step, is that kind of scenario is a really important one to take away. As long as something within you is telling you to do it and you know how to take that first step, the rest of it will emerge. And also what you think is your perfect idea now will be different in 6 months' time anyway. So
that is so true. So true. The path changes so quickly. But you need to take action for the path to come in front of you. If you just sit still, the path will not, you can't wait for the path to just show up. That's so true. From my experience in the past many years now, that's 100% true.
What does your future look like?
I'm enjoying what I'm doing because I'm creating software and I'm in a space that I love and I enjoy it. I'm making a lot of friends and meeting a lot of people in this space. I just love being in this space. So to me, it's just in the past 5 years or so, I was releasing new software probably every year, at least once a year, something new, a new piece of software to solve a different problem. That's very exciting. That was exciting for me, and coming out new. But I was always in the same space, the podcasting space, the live streaming video space. Now I look at it differently. I'm like, how do I add, like with my latest tools, I say, how do I add more value in this tool to existing customers and to existing content creators without having to create something new? So that's my focus now, is just focus on growing what I have, adding more tools in the toolbox instead of creating something new, because creating something new takes a lot of energy. And I just feel like I have a good platform now with my latest tool, and I want to grow that software to be something that can really help and just take automation to a whole new level. So my future is, it's in the software space. It's not creating new things, but expanding on what I have right now. And I'm excited. I have a lot of things down the pipeline, and I'm really enjoying. I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think it's the people also as well. Like the people, I'm in a space creating software, which I enjoy. I mean, I have a team as well. Just keep that in mind. Like I don't do the development. Because I know deep inside that's not what I love to do. I love to create, but not necessarily build the stuff with my hands or with the code. So, I learned that over the years from experience. So I started, getting more people to help me out and work on the team together. But to me, it's like I'm in a good building stuff I love, and in a space where I love the people and I love the problems. I love solving these problems. So yeah, I see myself being here for a while.
Yeah, it sounds perfect, and I think that's the key that we all listening want to achieve. It's that kind of, I love where I am now. I can see where I think I'm going to develop. I'm using more of what it is that I know, and then the rest of it, like you say, takes care of itself. You're surrounded by people you enjoy being with. You're creating things you enjoy doing, and you're using what you've got already, and then your future just develops. And I think that's really nicely put. I think we can all relate to that. So finally we come to what podcast, book, video, film, song, or other resource, and I guess it might be more than one of those, has had the biggest impact on your life, and why was that?
Yeah, to me, it was a one podcast that I was listening to a lot of podcasts when I was getting into my software business, and I basically narrowed it down to one podcast. After a while, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to focus on one. It was called it's I still listen to it. It's called Startups for the Rest of Us, and the reason why I picked that one is because it was very specific. It's almost like they were talking to me directly. It's two software developers who were both working on software, and I was working on software at the time, getting into it, and they were just talking about their experiences. And there's something about listening to somebody talk about experience. You feel two things. A, you're learning from someone who's done it or is going through it. And so I enjoyed that, but also like you feel like they're talking to you, like you can relate to them because you're in the same space, not same space, you're doing the same kind of thing, and they're like a few steps ahead of you because they've already built their software, they've already started to market it. So you're learning from their mistakes and then also learning from what they're doing right. And I really enjoyed. It made a huge difference. I would listen to it every week religiously at the gym. I listened to it at home, in the car. It didn't matter. And the thing that I liked about it is that they were real. Like they were talking about their real experiences. And there's something about that that's very powerful when you're going through something and you're listening to a podcast or reading a book and you feel like, wow, I'm in that same boat, but these guys are about, a year or so ahead of me or 2 years ahead of me. Like, this is perfect. I'm following their journey, seeing how my journey will evolve and learning from their mistakes. So that's been a huge, 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 huge thing for me. And it's funny because what they taught, there's something specifically they taught in that podcast from their experience. Is start small and go big. So if you're, in this case, if you're starting a software app, software business, don't try to build something huge. Start with a WordPress plugin or a small iPhone app or something like that, and then get the experience, learn if you like it or not, and then grow into something bigger. And I learned that from them, and that's what I did. I was more in the WordPress space, and it evolved into kind of my own web application. So, listening to somebody who's been through an experience is very powerful, very helpful.
And the thing I like the most about that, I mean, being a podcaster myself, and everyone listening is listening to a podcast, so you hope that it is that sort of personal touch which people really identify with, and I think that our whole idea of learning through a podcast, and I've been the same. I mean, learning how to produce a podcast, how to create a podcast, how to be involved in the podcasting world. None of it I was taught at school. I was taught by people like you say, literally a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years ahead, who've been through it, who are sharing their experiences, and it's a very different sort of relationship, isn't it, than the teacher and school learning kind of feel. And I think that there's in this day and age, it works so nicely because even if you're still at school and you're still having to experience that more traditional way of learning, all this is still open to you. You can actually find these things and meander through and learn the things that you really want to and follow those things. And like I say, start small, you find someone that you really like or a topic that you're really into, and then from there, the world's your oyster. And I think the way you put that in terms of that personal relationship and that journey of learning, I think is brilliant. And certainly for me, podcasts are such a big part of my life now that really is a key thing to explore for people.
Yeah, and you feel like you know the people. I feel like I know these guys who are talking. I've never met them. I maybe exchange a few tweets or something once in a while, but I feel like I've known them because I've learned so much from them. I've been through their journey as I'm going through my journey. So yeah, that's, to me, like, that's from a business perspective. Those, like, not business, from like where I am now compared to 5 years ago. I mean, I would have probably made a lot more mistakes if not listen to this podcast. It's kind of helped me. Of course, I've made mistakes, but it helped me guide me in the right direction. So I really enjoyed this one podcast. And for me, I would listen to a lot of podcasts, and when I wanted to really focus, I turned off a few other podcasts for a while and then just listened to the one, because it was directly impacting what I was. It's directly where I was, and where it was helping me through my journey right now. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. And what's the best way that people can find out more about you? Where can they go online, just to really sort of dive a bit deeper if they want to, or make some kind of connection?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a website. It's basic site, just has my few links to my blog, my Facebook, and some of the software stuff. It's just at hanimourra.com. So it's HANIMOURRA.com. And yeah, you can connect on Facebook, on Twitter, see some of the tools out there. Just learn more about me and my journey. And I also got a blog on there, but I'll be honest, it's a bit outdated. But yeah, I'd be happy to connect on Twitter or Facebook.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Hani, for sharing your wisdom and allowing us to learn from your experiences.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you to Hani for a great conversation. I hope you really enjoyed listening. To get his show notes and all the details that we've been talking about, go to educationonfire.com, and in the search bar, just write Hani and his show notes will pop up for you. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank NAPE, the National Association for Primary Education, who are our sole sponsor for this show and for all of the Education on Fire podcast network. And their aim is to achieve a higher priority for education from children from birth to 13. They believe that young children are not simply preparing for the future, but they're living a never to be repeated time of their life, and the best way to learn is to live. And I think that's something we can all share, and as we've been talking in these interviews, can really identify with. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to chatting to you soon. Thanks for listening to the Learning on Fire podcast. For more information, please visit educationonfire.com and follow the links from the homepage. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire.